Matahab to the family, Matahab to the tribe. Welcome and welcome back to another episode of Templar Up. I'm your host, I'm your Templar, Urban Reed. Thank you for surfing the wave with me, because I'm surfing the wave with you. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Hope everyone out there is blessed. Pax Copia to you and yours. Today what I wanted to do is say thank you for your patience. This is one of those drops in which, again, I wanted to continue from the ether flow. And I stated that this is one of those type of drops where, excuse me, Shalaki, it'd be good to hear it. But this is one of those types of drops where I needed to show. It'd be better to see it. Because we're talking about dragon seeing clearly. After all. You know. So, what we're going to talk about in a lot of ways has everything to do with the double slit experiment, as it were. What I mean by that is that, for the longest time, or until recently, I came to the understanding that although you may crystallize everything in part, in fractions, to me, it's all the same thing. It's all happening. There is no separation. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm talking about, like time and things of that nature, talking about time, talking about platonic solids, talking about dragons, is all one and the same. Even answering the question, who is Presser John? Who are you, my so-called Negro? You know what I'm saying? But in any case, I bring that up because, again, for those who've been, rocking with me for quite some time, know that I'm big about philology. I'm big about philo, and philology is, is the study of words, right? But philology, but when you break it down by the sound, the phi, the phi, the pi, and the lo, it goes back into, again, sound, words being sound and words being, spelled. Because when you're talking about phi or pi, right? In Picto Paleo, it's the kuf, or the, right, or the key, right? It's the sun on the horizon, right? Which is the condense, the circle, time. It represents the Q. Right? Represents the Q. So the study of words is the study of time. This is why I keep saying that if the word, the concept, the context, and the concept, the context, and the content of a word doesn't exist, it means it didn't exist. You can't have it. It doesn't, you know. So when we start studying the etymologies and stuff like that, if a word didn't exist, let's say before 1800s, it means it didn't exist. The concept. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna dig on it. Now, if you've been surfing the wave, Brother King has been, you know, going on the about the code. You know, he's going in on the breaking down each and every law. It's not Tanakh sessions. I don't think that's the right one. But he's breaking down the code. He's breaking down each and every law. And I want to touch base upon what's the difference between, because everything comes together at this certain point with all the drop. What's the difference between bearing false witness and being a false witness? What's the difference between bearing a false witness and being a false witness? Now, when it comes down to etymology, right? To bear false witness, hope y'all don't mind. And trust me, get comfortable. This is gonna get kind of crazy. Bake your noodle. To bear false witness, right? To carry, to bear children. Now pay attention to this, all these words, right? This is where you get your Bernice. And we dug on this, right? At least right into your, you know, your Vespasian, your Titus flow. This is where you get the word Christopher, right? This is where you also get bear and bearing, right? This is where you also get defer, difference, right? Differentiate. The esophagus, the neck bone, right? This is where you get your pine cone, your conifer, right? Your circumference. So you're not really spinning it on the ball. But notice what else you get. This is where you also get your Lucifer, right? This is also where you get your metaphor, right? You know, not just what are we talking about, but who are we talking about? Not just what, but who, right? When we're talking about to bear, that's let's go to be, right? To exist, to grow. B, this is where you got your Beor, right? This is where you got your boom, right? Here you got your boar, but we're not talking swine, right? This is where you're talking what? Future, and husband, and imp, and neighbor, and what? Fiat, like fiat currency, right? This is where you also get what? Bondage. So we also get bondage. So maybe to be in bondage isn't what you think it means. Exodus 20, he brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. But what are we talking about? Tribe, class, race. Right? Tribe, class, race, earth, world, came from the earth. He moved you from the earth. This is Earth Pond 1. Flat Earth. But again, this all matters, and we're gonna dig on it. And the reason why it matters is because, again, it really is how you crystallize. Now, when we dig on Hosea 3 and 5, and we're talking about seeking David, at first glance it seemed like, an easy slam dunk, but as we evolved, as we've grown, answer the question, who is Prester John? Answer the question of David isn't as simple as one may think. Because now we can understand, are you talking about, and ask the question, are we talking about King David? Or are we talking about Anan bin David? Anion. Or are we talking about Daniel or Kiliab bin David? Or are we talking about Solomon bin David? Because see, there's no wrong answer, because they all fit. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about the father or the three sons, the three magi, as it were. You just got to understand how the vibration works, how the cookie crumbles, as it were. So because of what we do know, the way it works is this. Anion, to seek David, meaning Anion bin David, is seeking knowledge that leads to understanding and wisdom. Okay? When it comes down to Daniel is seeking understanding that leads to knowledge and wisdom. Whereas you have Solomon, which is seeking wisdom, which leads to understanding and knowledge. Now again, none of these are a wrong answer. Okay? Neither one is a wrong answer. But understand that, like, with anion, when you put it in frequency, you're basically saying it doesn't matter where you are. What matters is where you're not. And the investigation holds true to that. When it comes down to Daniel, it's not when, it doesn't matter when you are, it matters when you're not. And again, the investigation holds true to that. Right? And then when it comes to Solomon, it doesn't matter who you are. What matters is who you're not. What matters is who you're not. And this is important. And this is important. Because again, we are only talking Picto-Paleo. Now, I'm going to try to run through this, so I hope you can bear with me, and I hope you guys don't mind. Because we're only talking Swan Nights. We're only talking Hebrew word of the day. This is going to get fun. This is going to get pretty wild. Now, I got to be careful. Because, when I had put this together, it was real easy for the sequence. The sequence really made the difference to how things crystallize. So, with that being said, I wanted to start here. Because to understand a word is to understand time. Star M-O-R-I, a body of water. A body of water. Now, this is where you get all over part of. This is where you get that America, which is not to be confused with America. But this is also where you get mare, right? Now, what's a mare? A broad, dark area of the moon. Broad, dark areas of the moon. Which is interesting, because I have a theory. I think we have it confused when we make the correlation between the greater light and lesser light in the sun and the moon. And what I mean by that here is that we confuse the greater light with being the sun. And I think in actuality, the greater light is actually the moon. And the lesser light is the sun. Which makes sense when you say it in sound. But that's another way for another time. But the same Mori, right? Body of water is also where you get your what? Your marine, your maritime, your mariner, your marsh, your mirror, and your mare, right? And we're going to dig on it, which is what? Lake, pool. But this is also where you get what? Your merlin, your mermaid, and your merman, right? Get your Muriel, right? Get your submarine, all right? Body of water. Now, notice what you don't get. Notice what you don't get. So let's look up, and we've done this before. Let's look up C. Now, in the previous drop, we dug on C, S-E-E, right? You know, the Pope being the Holy See. So let's dig on C. What's a C? Middle English, right? Old English. It's a sheet of water, sea, lake, pool. From Proto-Dramatic, Siwa, right? Source Old Saxon, CO, Frisian C, Dutch C. Remember, we're talking about the Holy See, right? Dutch Z, German C. Of what? Unknown origin, right? Outside connections, wholly doubtful, according to Buck. And the Indo-European etymon has generally been doubted, according to Buchan, right? The meaning, any great mass or large quantity of anything. Everything and the no thing is from when? Series of 1200. Two ways you can read that. That means anything after the year 1200, or you can read it as the 100 years with the 1200 being the center point, which takes you from 1150 to 1250. You know, who was Prester John? Because you don't get the name, the title, Prester John until 1150s. All right, 1165. All right, Germanic languages also use the more general Indo-European word represented in English by English mere in the noun, but have no firm distinction between sea and lake, either large or small, by inland or open, salt or fresh. You see, there's a difference between a mar and a moor and a mere, a more naga and a mere naga. We're gonna dig on it. All right. You see, this is why you need to understand that, the way we operate here. You know, the law of the land, the law of the water, the law of the earth, the law of the air, or heaven. Law of the sea, water, the law of the earth. It doesn't matter if it's fresh water or salt water. There's no distinction, right? There's no separation. Now, this may reflect the Baltic geography, where the languages are thought to have originated. Okay, the two words are used more or less interchangeably in Germanic and exist in opposite sense, right? In opposite sense, such as Gothic, Siwas, I think that is, seas, right? Lake, marshland, mare, sea, Dutch Z, sea, near, lake, compared, Old Norse, sea, right? But then so usually lake, but sea in phrases. German sea is sea, feminine, or lake for the masculine. Because a sea, this is salt water, right? A lake is fresh water. Bolton writes, the sea words in Germanic likely were originally lake. See, this is where you get in your whole, again, the whole nine worthies, King Arthur being a worthy, the way the story goes originally is that the sword and the stone was broken when he was facing Lancelot or Lancelin, because Lancelot is Lancelin of the lake. And the Lady of the Lake gives King Arthur the sword Excalibur. You see what I'm saying? The sword and the stone was broken at the battle with Lancelot at the lake. Over a bridge. So there's that. Now it says here that there are other words again for sea represented by half. The Old English word see lost its Latin mare, aqua, right? Pontus, talking about Pontius Pilate, the pontiff, your pope, your holy see. These words, the sound of words are not as different as you think. Plagueis and Marmor, which is weird because you're talking about what you can see the armor in Marmor, right? You're talking about Templar or not. There's good and bad Templars. The range in the Old English word includes the expanse of salt water that covers much of the world to individual great distinctly limited bodies of water. It is also used of inland seas, bogs, lakes, rivers, and the Bristol Channel. Now this reminds me of the map drop, Earth Pond 1, right? Meaning dark area of the moon surface is attested from 1660s. I mean, these dates are hilarious. Sea mare, right? Before the invention of telescopes, they were supposed to be water, right? Phrases of sea change, transformation, literally a change wrought by the sea, is attested from, pay attention to these dates, 1610s, right? Your sea change happened when? When did you get your King James Version? Right? First in Shakespeare, The Tempest. Sea legs, humorous colloquial term implying the ability to walk on a ship's deck when she is pitching and rolling, is from 1712. At sea is figurative sense of being perplexed, is attested from 1768. From literal sense in reference to ships out of sight of land, 1300s, right? Sea. All right, so check this out. Let this bake your noodle. It bakes my noodle. All right, let's dig on it. Soul, right? Now, again, understand, right? When you're saying soul, you are also saying Saul, like King Saul. King Saul was a mighty man, he slayed thousands. He had a lot of soul. All right, let's dig on it. A substantial entity believed to be that in each person which lives, feels, thinks, and wills. A substantial entity believed to be that in each person which lives, feels, thinks, and wills. Old English, soul, spiritual and emotional part of a person. Animate existence. Now I need you to pay close attention. What are you talking about when they say an animate existence? Remember, you are an ani. You are an animal. They're talking about the anima. The animal. You get upset because they call you an animal. But what upsets you is because you don't know what type of animal you are. This is why we're only talking about dragons, right? We'll get it like it's the first time. I don't mind if you don't mind. Webster Dictionary. A dragon, right, is a serpent. It is a violent person, male or female, but a dragon is also a genus of animals. Let's get it back. Soul, life, living being, right? Was from what? Uncertain origin. Sometimes said to mean originally coming from or belonging to the sea, right? Now, understand something, and I had to learn this. There's a difference between being a merman or a Mormon and a man that is a Moor. It's pretty trippy. You know, it's those that come from the earth and then those that come from the sea. You know, you're from Turtle Island, the first land that came out of the sea, but it's also the first to come out of the land. You see this again, you know, this is why when you're talking about them, you know, the sons of Ishmael walking around in circles, casting stones, and this, that, and the other. You know, this is where all that plays, because they're trying to go back to a different time period, but that authority no longer exists. But it's all a play on words. Okay, now. Because that was supposed to be what? The stopping place of the soul before birth and after death. Right? This is why all ships have a female name. You dock, you give birth, you know, stuff like that. Klein explains this as from the lake as a dwelling place of souls of ancient northern Europe. Meaning spirit of deceased persons is attested in Old English from 971. Now, pay attention. And this is why, again, we're talking about time. Because the way they write this can either be I-971, 1971. And you'll see how it all plays and how time flips and stuff like that. As a synonym for persons, individuals, human beings, as every living soul, it dates from early 17th century. Soul searching is attested from 1871. Okay, this is after the gold rush. Now we're doing some soul searching, right? I think that's also when you get Dragon Canoe and Cocoon saying them popping off. Now check this out. By definition, distinguishing soul from spirit is a matter best left to theologians. All right, now check out soul. Distinctive quality left by black person as an attribute in 1946. And this is why I brought this up about the distinction in time. You see, is it 1914 or are we talking about I-946? Jazz slang from soul, now also from the sense, our soul brother 1957, soul sister 1967, soul food 1957. You get soul food and soul brother in the same time, etc. Soul music, right? Now pay attention to this. Essentially gospel music with girl, etc. in place of a Seuss. Now, again, number one, what etc. are we talking about? Number two, other than girl, but notice this. We're not talking, if we're talking 961, just 10 years later, you get it to mean this. Spirit of a deceased person. Again, it's the way that the mind plays, the way that they do this, it really is. The pen is mightier than the sword. But the sound is mightier than the pen. Now, talking about your soul, right? Now check this out. Let this baker noodle. So what's the soul? The bottom of a foot, right? Soul, bottom of the foot. Technically, the planta, right? Corresponding to the palm of the hand. What are we talking about? Talking about the gom, right? The foot, the gather, the walk. Talking about the gom. But notice what it says. It corresponds with the foot and the hand, right? So now it corresponds with the what? The yod or the yod, right? They giving you drop. But remember, we're talking about what? The check mark, the foot, right? The 7. All 7 and we watch them fall. All right, Prince had to drop. Get it back. Again, old French soul, right? Means sandal. Bottom of a shoe, a flatfish. Now, you think it's strange, or you think it's coincidence that you keep getting this fish reference. When you're talking about dragon, you're talking about a flying fish, and then when you're talking about a soul, you're talking about a flatfish. Right? Now pay attention. Solum, right? Bottom, ground, foundation, lowest point of a thing. You're talking about foundation. KTC, MHOE is foundational. Okay, and guess what? It's a word of uncertain origin. Right? But soul is also what? Single, alone, having no husband or wife. Now we're talking about Nehemiah. You're hanging out with the actual harlot, and you're acting like one, and then Hawa has to buy you and then sit you down. Talking about one and only, singular, unique, right? Over in soul, only, just. Remember, it's about being just, right? Again, of unknown origin, related to what? Oneself. Plot the 5 reflexive roots, so, which leads to so, which they tell you to compare to 2. But then you're talking about soul, common European flatfish, right? But then you're talking about what? Furnish a shoe with a sole. Okay. See, told you. Compared to 2. Framer and shaper. I mean, I ain't making this up, dude. I promise you. So, you know, I know I'm running short on time. I would love to dismount, but let's dismount with this here, and we'll pick it up next time with this here, and keep it going, because again, this has everything to do with last. Okay. Now, Hosanna is an interjection. Okay. It's an interjection. It's from Hebrew Hosha Na, probably a shortening of Hoshaya Na, right? Save, comma, we pray. Psalms 100 and I think that's 118. No. Yeah, 118, verse 25. 19, verse 25. From a period of, you should compare Yeshua, salvation, deliverance, welfare, for which see Joshua, with the emphatic article of Na, originally appealed for deliverance, used in Christian church as an ascription of praise, because when Jesus entered Jerusalem, this was shouted by the Galilean pilgrims, not the Galilean natives. You see, the natives were screaming for Joshua. They were being mocked by Caesar's Messiah, by the pilgrims. They were mocking you. But again, this all goes back into this Anna. This ties into your DeVita bloodline. This ties into your Lady Tamar. This ties back into your Queen Khalifa. Again, Joshua is the seed of a woman. And when we bring it back the next time, because again, it's about false witness, right? Bearing false witness and being false witness, right? What are we talking about, Herb? We're only talking about Hosea 3 and 5. That's what we're talking about. Hosea 3 and 5. Suit up, choose up, and vibe up. MHOE, Most High over everything. It's a creed, a summary, a religious belief. Suit up and choose up. I love you, Drop Nation. Halel Hawa, Halel Hawa. Peace.